Hello everybody, welcome to my channel and Happy New Year to all of you. Now, the last couple of years my apartment has turned into a real jungle, with lots of houseplants climbing whatever way they want, using whatever support they may find, just like they tend to do in nature. And today I just want to show you a glimpse of this apartment jungle. So let's have a look together. So in this container I put a few spider plants as a ground cover, and then I also put a philodendron lacerum, a philodendron micans, and finally a philodendron burley marks in this container. They're all cuttings, and these mixed containers are the base of my urban jungle. I also use a lot of hanging plants like this beautiful Syngonium red arrow. If possible, I also like to put plants very high up, so they immediately almost touch the ceiling. In this container, for instance, I mainly put a whole bunch of wet sticks from a very old Monstera deliciosa. And almost all of them turned into juvenile Monstera plants by now. And as you can see, one of these juvenile Monstera plants produced an aerial root that is gently touching my ceiling. I also got some plants that I tried to grow on a moss wall in the beginning, like this very old philodendron micans, but at a certain point I just let them grow the way that they want to grow. And this micans is attaching itself to my wall as a climbing support. I also take cuttings from my plants all the time. This here is a cutting of my philodendron grandipes, so I always have spare plants to fill up any gaps in my urban jungle. I also buy from time to time very small baby plants. This philodendron squamiferum was like 3 inches tall when I first got it, and I only paid €4 for it. And just look at it now, how much it has grown over a couple of years. Most of my houseplants are just plain green, but I do have a few variegated plants, like this variegated Syngonium, a plant that's really easy to propagate. And talking about propagation, this here is a wet stick cutting from my variegated Epipremnum pinnatum. This bare stem that's growing in pon is my philodendron Malay gold. It has become very top heavy, but it's still in great shape. And when you take a closer look at the stem, you can see all its small aerial roots. So this guy is basically begging me to propagate it, which I will do in a couple of months in springtime. Here we got another mixed container with philodendron painted lady, philodendron burley marks, and at the top philodendron pedatum. And all these plants are cuttings I grew myself. Can you recognize these 4 intertwined philodendrons? First of all, on the right, we got my very old philodendron silver sword. And the big leaf hanging in the center is from my philodendron limanii. Then we got that leaf at the back against the wall, which I think is a philodendron worsowicii. And finally, of course, at the front we got a beautiful new leaf from my philodendron delingsii. As I told you before, I take a lot of cuttings from my houseplants, so here you can see my propagation trolley mainly filled with philodendron cuttings. This here is a juvenile part of my jungle, and I am currently trying to get these plants to grow higher, but the light comes from below, so that's gonna take quite some time. Here we got another variegated Syngonium. This is a Syngonium batik that I plan to propagate in springtime. I also try to experiment with different leaf shapes, for instance by including this philodendron campii linnet. Here I got some color coming from the Hoya on top and also the Aglionema on the right, but it's the philodendron tortum that still steals the show. And this right here is what I call my eternal baby Philodendron tortum that's eternally growing in perlite. I have a lot of these plastic cups filled with terrarium plant cuttings, and normally I never use sphagnum moss, but I found out that sphagnum moss turns out to be the perfect growing medium for these terrarium cuttings. In my kitchen I keep this Maranta prayer plant close to the window. And I also got my owl terrarium in the kitchen, mainly filled with Tradescantia cuttings. This is my favorite philodendron. It's the Philodendron maximum. It has beautiful leaves and it never stops producing new leaves like this one right here. Okay, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the glimpse of my apartment jungle that I just showed you. It's a lot of work, but it's also very rewarding. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it and or subscribing to my channel. For now, I thank you very much for watching the video and I hope to see you again real soon on my channel. Bye bye.